Section 6 of Astounding Stories, 16, April 1931. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by John Burleson. Astounding Stories 16, April 1931, by Various. The Exiles of Time by Ray Cummings, Chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3, Tug the Cripple. The portals of this mystery had swung wide to receive us. The tumbling events which menaced all our world of 1935 were upon us now. A maelstrom, a torrent, in the midst of which we were caught up like tiny bits of cork and whirled away. But we thought we understood the mystery. We believed we were acting for the best. What we did was no doubt ill-considered, but the human mind is so far from omniscient. And this thing was so strange. Alton said, "You have a right to be overwrought, Mistress Mary Atwood, but this thing is as strange to us as it is to you. I called that iron monster a robot, but it does not belong to our age. If it does, I have never seen one such as you describe. And traveling through time—" He smiled down at her. "That is not a commonplace everyday occurrence to us, I assure you. The difference is that in this world of ours we can understand, or at least explain, these things as being scientific, and so they have not the terror of the supernatural." Mary was calmer now. She returned his smile. "I realize that, or at least I am trying to realize it." What a level-headed girl was this! I touched her arm. "You are very wonderful." Alton brushed me away. "Let's try and reduce this to rationality. The cage is, I should say, since of course it still exists. That cage is a time-traveling vehicle. It is traveling back and forth through time, operated by a robot. Call it that. A pseudo-human monster fashioned of metal in the guise of a man." Even Alton had to force himself to speak calmly, as he gazed from one to the other of us. "It came, no doubt, from some future age, where half-human mechanisms are common, and time-traveling is known. That cage probably does not travel in space, but only in time. In the future, somewhere, the space of that house on Patton Place may be the laboratory of a famous scientist. And in the past, in the year 1777, that same space was the garden of Mistress Atwood's home. So much is obvious. But why—" "Why," Larry burst out, "did that iron monster stop in 1777 and abduct this girl?" "And why," I intercepted, "did it stop here in 1935? I gazed at Mary. "And it told you it would return?" "Yes." Alton was pondering. "There must be some connection, of course. Mistress Mary, had you never seen this cage before?" "No." "Nor anything like it? Was anything like that known to your time?" "No." "Oh, I cannot truly say that. Some people believe in phantoms, omens, and witchcraft. There was in Salem, in the Massachusetts colony, not so many years ago—" "I don't mean that. I mean time-traveling." "There were soothsayers and fortune-tellers, and necromancers with crystals to gaze into the future." "We still have them." Alton smiled. You see, we don't know much more than you do about this thing." I said, "Did you have any enemy? Anyone who wished you harm?" She thought a moment. "No? Yes, there was one." She shuddered at the memory. "A man, a cripple, a horribly repulsive man of about 110 years. He lives down near the Battery." She paused. "Tell us about him," Larry urged. She nodded. "But what could he have to do with this? He is horribly deformed. Thin, bent legs, a body like a cask, and a bulging forehead with goggling eyes. My Lord Howe's officers say he is very intelligent and very learned. Loyal to the king, too. There was a munitions plot in the Bermudas, and this cripple and Lord Howe were concerned in it. But father likes the fellow and says that in reality he wishes our cause well. He's rich. But you don't want to hear all this. He made love to me and I repulsed him. There was a scene with father, and father had our lackeys throw him out. That was a year ago. He cursed horribly. He vowed then that some day he would have me and get revenge on father. But he has kept away. I have not seen him for a 12-month. We were silent. I chanced to look at Alton, and a strange look was on his face. He said abruptly, "What is this cripple's name, Mistress Mary?" "Tug. He is known to all the city as Tug. Just that. I never heard any Christian name." Alton rose sharply to his feet. "A cripple named Tug?" "Yes," she affirmed wonderingly. "Does it mean anything to you?" Alton swung on me. "What is the number of that house on Patton Place? Did you happen to notice?" I had, and wondering, I told him. "Just a minute," he said. "I want to use the phone." He came back to us in a moment. His face was very solemn. "That house on Patton Place is owned by a man named Tug. I just called a reporter friend. He remembers a certain case. He confirmed what I thought. Mistress Mary, did this Tug in your time ever consult doctors, trying to have his crippled body made whole?" "Why, of course he did. I have heard that many times. But his crippled, deformed body cannot be cured." Alton checked Larry and me when we would have broken in with astonished questions. He said, "Don't ask me what it means, I don't know. But I think that this cripple, this Tug, has lived both in 1777 and 1935, and is traveling between them in this time-traveling cage. And perhaps he is the human master of that robot." Alton made a vehement gesture. "But we'd better not theorize. It's too fantastic. Here is the story of Tug in our time. He came to see me some 3 years ago, in 1932, I think. He offered any price if I could cure his crippled body. All the New York medical fraternity knew him. He seemed sane, but obsessed with the idea that he must have a body like other men. Like Faust, who, as an old man, paid the price of his soul to become youthful, he wanted to have the beautiful body of a young man." Alton was speaking vehemently. My thoughts ran ahead of his words. I could imagine with gruesome fancy so many things. A cripple, traveling to different ages, seeking to be cured, desiring a different body. Alton was saying, "This fellow Tug lived alone in that house on Patton Place. He was all you say of him, Mistress Mary, hideously repulsive, a sinister personality, about 30 years old. And in 1932 he got mixed up with a girl who had a somewhat dubious reputation herself, a dancer, a frequenter of nightclubs, as they used to be called. Her name was Doris Johns, something like that. She evidently thought she could get money out of Tug. Whatever it was, there was a big uproar. The girl had him arrested, saying that he had assaulted her. The police had quite a time with the cripple. Larry and I remembered a few of the details of it now, though neither of us had been in New York at the time. Alton went on. Tug fought with the police, went berserk. I imagine they handled him pretty roughly. In the magistrate's court he made another scene and fought with the court attendants. With ungovernable rage he screamed vituperatives, and was carried kicking, biting, and snarling from the courtroom. He threatened some wild, weird revenge upon all the city officials, even upon the city itself. "Nice sort of chap," Larry commented. But Alton did not smile. The magistrate could only hold him for contempt of court. The girl had absolutely no evidence to support her accusation of assault. Tug was finally dismissed. A week later, he murdered the girl. The details are unimportant, but he did it. The police had him trapped in his house, had the house surrounded, this same one on Patton Place. But when they burst in to take him, he had inexplicably vanished. He was never heard from again. Alton continued to regard us with grim, solemn face. Never heard from until tonight, and now we hear of him. How he vanished with the police guarding every exit to that house, well, it's obvious, isn't it? He went into another time world, back to 1777, doubtless. Mary Atwood gave a little cry. "I had forgotten that I must warn you. Tug told me once, before father and I quarreled with him, that he had a mysterious power. He was a most wonderful man, he said, and there was a world in the future, he mentioned 1934 or 1935, which he hated. A great city whose people had wronged him, and he was going to bring death to them all. I did not heed him. I thought he was demented, raving." Alton's little clock ticked with tumultuous heartbeat through another silence. The great city around us, even though this was 2 o'clock in the morning, throbbed with a myriad of blended sounds. A warning! Was the girl from out of the past giving us a warning of coming disaster to this great city? Alton was pacing the floor. "What are we to do? Tell the authorities? Take Mistress Mary Atwood to police headquarters, and inform them that she has come from the year 1777? And that if we are not careful there will be an attack on New York?" "No!" I burst out. I could fancy how we would be received at police headquarters if we did that. And our pictures in tomorrow's newspapers. Mary's picture, with a jibing headline ridiculing us. "No," echoed Alton. "I have no intention of doing it. I'm not so foolish as that." He stopped before Mary. "What do you want to do? You're obviously an exceptionally intelligent, level-headed girl. Heaven knows you need to be." I want to get back home," she stammered. A pang shot through me as she said it. 150 years to separate us. A vast gulf. An impassable barrier. "That mechanism said it would return." "Exactly," agreed Alton. And excitement was upon us all. "Exactly what I mean. Shall we chance it? Try it? There's nothing else I can think of to do. I have a revolver and 2 hunting rifles." "Just what do you mean?" I demanded. "I mean we'll take my car and go to Tugg's house on Patton Place, right now, and if that mechanical monster returns, we'll seize it." Alten, the usually calm, precise man of science, was tensely vehement. "Seize it? Why not? 3 of us armed ought to be able to overcome a robot. Then we'll seize the time-traveling cage. Perhaps we can operate it. If not, with it in our possession, we'll at least have something to show the authorities. There'll be no ridicule then." Our inescapable destiny was making us plunge so rashly into this mystery. With the excitement and the strange fantasy of it upon us, we thought we were acting for the best. Within a quarter of an hour, armed and with a long overcoat and a scarf to hide Mary Atwood's beauty, we took Alten's car and drove to Patton Place. Chapter 4: The Fight with the Robot. Patrolman McGuire quite evidently had not passed through Patton Place since we left it, or at least he had not noticed the broken window. The house appeared as before, dark, silent, deserted, and the broken basement window yawned with its wide black opening. "I'll leave the car around on the other street," Alten said as slowly we passed the house. "Quick! No one's in sight. You 3 get out here." We crouched in the dim entryway, and in a moment he joined us. I clung to Mary Atwood's arms. "You're not afraid?" I asked. "No. Yes, of course I'm afraid, but I want to do what we planned. I want to go back to my own world, to my father." "Inside," Alten whispered. "I'll go first. You 2 follow with her." I can say now that we should not have taken her into that house. It is so easy to look back upon what one might have done. We climbed through the window into the dark front basement room. There was only silence and our faintly padding footsteps on the carpeted floor. The furniture was shrouded with cotton covers, standing like ghosts in the gloom. I clutched the loaded rifle which Alten had given me. Larry was similarly armed, and Alten carried a revolver. "Which way, Mary?" I whispered. "You're sure it was outdoors?" "Yes. This way, I think." We passed through the connecting door. The back room seemed to be a dismantled kitchen. "You stay here with her a moment," Alten whispered to me. "Come on, Larry. Let's make sure nothing is down here." I stood silent with Mary, while they prowled about the lower floor. "It may have come and gone," I whispered. "Yes." She was trembling against me. It seemed to me an eternity while we stood there listening to the faint footfalls of Larry and Alten. Once they must have stood quiet. Then the silence leaped and crowded us. It was horrible to listen to a pregnant silence, which every moment might be split by some weird, unearthly sound. Larry and Alten returned. "Seems to be all clear," Alten whispered. "Let's go into the backyard." The little yard was dim. The big apartment house against its rear wall loomed with a blank brick face, save that there were windows some 8 stories up. Only a few windows overlooked this dim area with its high enclosing walls. The space was some 40 feet square, and there was a faded grass plot in the center. We crouched near the kitchen door, with Mary behind us in the room. She said she could recall the cage having stood near the center of the yard, with its door facing this way. Nearly an hour passed. It seemed that the dawn must be near, but it was only around 4 o'clock. The same storm clouds hung overhead, a threatening storm which would not break. The heat was oppressing. "It's come and gone," Larry whispered. "Or it isn't coming. I guess that this—" And then it came. We were just outside the doorway, crouching against the shadowed wall of the house. I had Mary close behind me, my rifle ready. "There," whispered Alten. We all saw it, a faint, luminous mist out near the center of the yard, a crawling, shifting ball of fog. Alten and Larry, one on each side of me, shifted sidewise, away from me. Mary stood and cast off her dark overcoat. We men were in dark clothes, but she stood gleaming white against the dark rectangle of doorway. It was as we had arranged. A moment only she stood there. Then she moved back, further behind me in the black kitchen. In that moment the cage had materialized. We were hoping its occupant had seen the girl and not us. A breathless moment passed while we stared for the first time at this strange thing from the unknown. A formless, glowing mist. It quickly gathered itself into solidity. It seemed to shrink. It took form. From a wraith of a cage, in a second it was solid. And so silently, so swiftly, came this thing out of time into what we call the present. A dim yard, a second ago, had been empty. The cage stood there, a thing of gleaming silver bars. It seemed to enclose a single room. From within its dim interior came a faint glow, which outlined something standing at the bars, peering out. The doorway was facing us. There had been utter silence, but suddenly, as though to prove how solid was this apparition, we heard the clank of metal and the door slid open. I turned to make sure that Mary was hiding well behind me. The way back to the street, if need for escape arose, was open to her. I turned again to face the shining cage. In the doorway something stood, peering out, a light behind it. It was a great jointed thing of dark metal some 10 feet high. For a moment it stood motionless. I could not see its face clearly, though I knew there was a suggestion of human features, and 2 great round glowing spots of eyes. It stepped forward toward us. A jointed, stiff-legged step. Its legs were dangling loosely. I heard one of its mailed hands clank against its sides. "Now," Alten whispered. I saw Alten's revolver leveling up, and my own rifle went up. "Aim at its face," I murmured. We pulled our triggers together, and 2 spurts of flame spat before us. But the thing had stopped an instant before, and we missed. Then came Larry's shot, and then chaos. I recall hearing the ping of Larry's bullet against the mailed body of the robot. At that it crouched, and from it leaped a dull red-black beam of light. I heard Mary scream. She had not fled, but was clinging to me. I cast her off. "Run! Get back! Get away!" I cried. Larry shouted, as we all stood bathed in the dull light from the robot. "Look out! It sees us!" He fired again into the light, and murmured, "Why? Why?" A great surprise and terror was in his tone. Beside me, with half-leveled revolver, Alten stood transfixed, and he too was muttering something. All this happened in an instant, and there I was, aware that I was trying to get my rifle up for firing again. But I could not. My arms stiffened. I tried to take a step, tried to move a foot, but could not. I was rooted there, held as though by some giant magnet to the ground. This horrible dull red light, it was cold, a frigid, paralyzing blast. The blood ran like cold water in my veins. My feet were heavy with the weight of my body pressing them down. Then the robot was moving, coming forward, holding the light upon us. I thought I heard its voice, and a horrible, hollow, rasping laugh. My brain was chilling. I had confused thoughts, impressions, vague and dreamlike. As though in a dream I felt myself standing there with Mary clinging to me. Both of us were frozen inert upon our feet. I tried to shout, but my tongue was too thick. My throat seemed swelling inside. I heard Alton's revolver clatter to the stone pavement of the yard, and saw him fall forward, out. I felt that in another instant I too would fall. This damnable, chilling light. Then the beam turned partly away and fell more fully upon Larry. With his youth and greater strength than Alton's or mine, he had resisted its first blast. His weapon had fallen. Now he stopped and tried to seize it, but he lost his balance and staggered backward against the house wall. And then the robot was upon him. It sprang, this mechanism, this machine in human form, and with whatever pseudo-human intelligence actuated its giant metal body, it reached under Larry for his rifle. Its great mailed hand swept the ground, seized the rifle, and flung it away. And as Larry twisted sidewise, the robot's arm with a sweep caught him and rolled him across the yard. When he stopped, he lay motionless. I heard myself thickly calling to Mary, and the light flashed again upon us, and then we fell forward, clinging together. We fell. I did not quite lose consciousness. It seemed that I was frozen and drifting off half into a nightmare sleep. Great metal arms were gathering Mary and me from the ground, lifting us, carrying us. We were in the cage. I felt myself lying on the grid of a metal floor. I could vaguely see the crossed bars of the ceiling overhead, and the latticed walls around me. Then the dull red light was gone. The chill was gone. I was warming. The blessed warm blood again was coursing through my veins, reviving me, bringing back my strength. I turned over and found Mary lying beside me. I heard her softly murmur, "George, George Rankin." The giant mechanism clanked the door closed, and came with stiff, stilted steps back into the center of the cage. I heard the hollow rumble of its voice, chuckling, as its hand pulled a switch. At once the cage room seemed to reel. It was not a physical movement, though, but more a reeling of my senses, a wild shock to all my being. Then, after a nameless interval, I steadied. Around me was a humming, glowing intensity of tiny sounds, and infinitely small, infinitely rapid vibrations. The whole room grew luminous. The robot, seated now at a table, showed for a moment as thin as an apparition. All this room, Mary lying beside me, the mechanism, myself, all this was imponderable, intangible, unreal. And outside the bars stretched a shining mist of movement. blurred, shifting shapes over a vast, illimitable vista. Changing things, melting landscapes, silent, tumbling, crowded events blurred by our movement as we swept past them. We were traveling through time. End of chapter 4.